I don't remember the first night the sky began showing us the names. Most people claim they do. Everyone loves the drama of pretending they were present at the moment history bent itself into a new, terrifying shape, but memory is a fragile thing, especially when fear becomes its constant companion. What I do remember is the first time I looked up and saw my father's name glowing above the rooftop, pale and cold like a dying star. It was a winter evening, the kind where the air sits in your throat like broken glass. The sky had that strange violet tint it often carried after the phenomenon began, a color that made the world feel bruised. I was returning from the pharmacy with his medication, my gloved fingers stiff around a paper bag full of bitter-smelling pills. He had been coughing for days. Nothing life-threatening, the doctor said, just a stubborn infection that clung to his lungs like ivy. Annoying, yes. Serious? No. Then I saw it. His name, floating above the houses like a constellation rearranged by a malicious god. Paul Ellis. It pulsed faintly, as though it was breathing. For a moment, the cold vanished. My whole body burned with a terror so intense I almost dropped the bag. I knew what it meant. Everyone knew. By then, we had seen the pattern enough times that even the most faithful had stopped praying it would break. A name appears in the sky at night. By sunrise, the person is dead. Not sometimes. Not occasionally. Always. I stood frozen in the street, heart pounding so loud I could hear it echo in my ears like a drum. My legs carried me forward on instinct, not awareness, until I was stumbling through the front door of our small house, gasping like I had outrun a fire. He was on the couch under a blanket, pale but smiling sleepily. "Did you get the... Dad?" I said, voice cracking like ice underfoot. "Your name is in the sky." He blinked at me, confusion first, then disbelief, then a slow, creeping dread. And then he exhaled, as though something inevitable had finally caught up with him. We didn't sleep that night. We sat side by side on the couch, his hand resting over mine, both of us pretending not to notice how he kept squeezing tighter every few minutes. The glow from the window flooded into the living room, casting a trembling illumination across the walls, light that seemed to pulse in perfect synchronization with the name outside. When the sun rose, he was gone, just stopped breathing.
No struggle.
No warning, as peaceful as slipping into another dream. For months after, I felt like I was living inside someone else's life. The sky became an enemy you couldn't fight and couldn't outrun, a threat that gazed down at us all night long. People tried to ignore it at first, tried to pretend that maybe it had limits, maybe the rules were not absolute. But as the deaths piled up, denial became a luxury fewer and fewer people could afford. Now, years later, I've grown used to the ritual. Everyone has. When night falls, most people stay indoors, not because the names are dangerous to approach, they're just light, but because looking at them feels like opening a letter you never wanted to receive. A cosmic obituary written before the death has even happened. Still, there are watchers, people who stand outside with notebooks and telescopes, documenting the names as they appear. Some have built entire careers around predicting who might be next. Others claim to hear whispers when the names shimmer into existence, though I've never heard anything myself. The government tried to regulate sky watching for a while, but you can't stop fear from seeking answers. And now, for the past 3 nights, I've had a feeling deep in my stomach, one that coils tighter every time the sun dips below the horizon, that my turn is coming. It began with a dream. In it, I stood in the field behind my childhood home, the tall grass brushing my knees like the touch of unseen hands. The sky above me was black and endless. I sensed, rather than saw, that someone was standing behind me. When I turned, there was no face, just a featureless shape made of smoke. It lifted an arm, slow and deliberate, and pointed upward. The sky bloomed with a single name.
Mine.
I woke up drenched in sweat, lungs aching, nails digging crescent moons into my palms. But what unsettled me the most wasn't the dream. It was the feeling that the sky had been watching me long before I ever dreamed of watching it. That feeling has stalked me for days. Tonight, though, everything changes, because I'm not imagining it anymore. Tonight, the sky isn't just watching me. It's calling me. I felt it when I stepped outside earlier, just after dusk. The air shifted. The world grew still. Even the neighborhood dogs, who usually bark endlessly at the passing shadows, fell silent. The wind carried no sound, no movement, just a cold that slid over my skin like a whisper. And then I looked up. No names yet. The sky was blank. But I knew, with a certainty that rooted itself deep inside my bones, that the moment the stars appeared, something would happen. Something different. Something meant for me. I walked back inside, locked the door, and tried to calm myself with the logic I used to cling to when I was much younger. Not all feelings predict the future. Fear is just fear. Anxiety is just imagination imagining the worst. But logic can't compete with a sky that kills. Now I sit at my desk, writing these words as though documenting the moment will somehow anchor me to the world a little longer. The clock on the wall ticks steadily toward midnight. Outside, the first faint glow is beginning to form. I don't want to look, but I will, because part of me needs to know before anyone else does. There's something strange happening tonight. The glow is expanding faster than usual, stretching across the sky like a stain of light bleeding through dark fabric. My heart hammers in my chest. My breath comes in shallow bursts. The pen in my hand trembles. I know what it means. A name is coming. My name, or someone else's. Or maybe, for the first time since the phenomenon began, something entirely new. The air tastes metallic, like blood on the back of my tongue. I rise slowly, walking toward the window with the heavy footsteps of someone approaching a noose. As I reach the glass, the glow sharpens into letters. But it's not a name. Not yet. It's a phrase. I stagger backward. The sky reads. Look behind you. The words froze me where I stood. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. Every thought in my skull evaporated, leaving only a terrible, ringing emptiness. The sky had never shown anything except names. Never warnings. Never messages. Never anything resembling intention. Until now. Look behind you. My pulse thrashed like it was trying to claw out of my chest. I didn't turn. Couldn't. My body refused to obey. Every instinct screamed that whatever waited behind me was the reason the sky had changed its rules. The house was silent. Too silent. Even the refrigerator hum, the distant whir of cars on the main road, the constant night noises that stitched reality together, all gone. Like the world was holding its breath. Finally, forcing air into my lungs, I whispered into the stillness. There's no one there. But the moment the words left my lips, the temperature dropped again. Sharply, violently. My teeth began to chatter. I could see my breath fogging the air even though it was late summer and the heater was off. Something was in the room with me. A slow creaking sound echoed from behind, wood bending under weight, or floorboards shifting under a step. My skin prickled from scalp to ankles, my entire body locked in place. I turned. Took every ounce of will I had. My muscles felt like they were moving underwater, thick and stiff, as if something were physically resisting my motion. The room behind me was empty. At least that's what my eyes saw first. Then the shadows moved. In the far corner, the darkness thickened, gathering into a shape slightly darker than the rest of the room. A silhouette, humanoid, but not entirely. Its edges blurred, indistinct, like smoke caught in slow motion. I stumbled backward, slamming into the window hard enough to rattle the glass. What are you? The shape didn't answer, but it shifted subtly like someone adjusting their posture after standing still too long. And then it stepped forward. No sound, no movement of air, no weight on the floorboards, just a gliding approach that made every hair on my body stand up. My throat tightened. My voice shrank to a trembling whisper. Stay back. The shadow stopped, close enough that I could make out a faint suggestion of features, 2 depressions where eyes should be, a hollow indentation in place of a mouth. Not a face, not truly, but the suggestion of one carved into smoke. The air around it warped. The lights flickered. My vision blurred at the edges. Then slowly it lifted an arm. I recognized the gesture instantly because I had seen it before. In my dream, the shadow pointed upward, toward the sky, toward the glowing message still hanging above my house. And then the letters began to shift again. The bright white light shimmered, stretched, rearranged itself. I watched through the window as thousands of particles of glowing dust swirled like a celestial storm. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, the new text emerged. This is your only warning. A cold spike of terror lanced through me, sharp enough to make my knees buckle. My breath quickened into frantic bursts. Warning? Warning about what? When I turned back toward the shadow, it was closer. So close I could feel the cold radiating off its form. The kind of cold that felt less like temperature and more like an absence of something essential: warmth, life, light, soul. My voice cracked. What do you want? The shadow tilted its head. The gesture was human. Too human. When it spoke, it didn't use a voice. The words arrived inside my skull like a thought that wasn't mine. Don't watch. The sky tomorrow night. My heart stammered. The shadow pressed closer until its face, its imitation of a face, hovered inches from mine. If you do, you won't live to see the dawn. Couldn't blink. Couldn't breathe. It felt like invisible fingers pressed against my throat, not choking, but holding me still. What happens tomorrow? I forced out through trembling lips. The shadow's form rippled, as though trembling with something that wasn't quite emotion. Something breaks. The room began to shake. Not violently, but with a low, rumbling vibration that felt like the house itself was groaning. The lights flared, then dimmed to a sickly yellow. The shadow backed away, not walking, shrinking. Its form collapsed inward, folding into itself like smoke being pulled through an invisible funnel. In seconds, it was gone. The air returned to normal temperature. Sound returned in a distant rush. The refrigerator hum, a barking dog blocks away, the hum of streetlights. It felt overwhelming after the suffocating silence. But the terror remained. I staggered to my chair, gripping it so tightly my knuckles whitened. My mind raced in circles I couldn't slow down. The sky had given me a message. Something had appeared in my home, and whatever was coming tomorrow night was enough to break something. Whatever that meant. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined the shadow returning, or worse, my name glowing in the sky. But nothing appeared for the rest of the night. As the first hints of sunrise crept over the rooftops, the glowing message finally faded, dissolving into the brightening sky as though it had never been there. No names appeared at all that night. For the first time in years, people would notice. Panic would erupt. The watchers would speculate wildly. Scientists would scramble for explanations. Religious leaders would howl about prophecy. But none of them would know what I knew. Something had changed. Something was coming. And I had been warned. I should have felt relieved that my name hadn't appeared. But instead, a horrible thought burrowed into my mind like a parasite. The sky had warned me, not spared me. Warnings are only given before something terrible. And this time, the sky wasn't just watching. It was involved. As the sun rose, I felt a single, overwhelming certainty. Tomorrow night, the sky would not just show names. Tomorrow night, the sky would show something else. Something worse. And I was at the center of it. I couldn't shake the feeling that the sunlight itself was wrong the next morning. It poured through the windows like it always did, thin, bright, warming the dust drifting through the air. But it felt artificial, like a stage light pretending to be the sun. I stood in my living room for a long time, staring at the floor, waiting to feel normal again, waiting for the night's horror to fade into something memory could soften. Didn't. The shadow, the message, the warning, none of it dissolved in daylight. My phone buzzed relentlessly on the kitchen counter. I ignored it at first, but eventually forced myself to look. Notifications stacked like a tower, group chats, neighborhood alerts, news apps. No names last night? Anyone else see nothing? Is this the first time? What does it mean? A dozen texts from friends, acquaintances, coworkers. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone demanded meaning. And for the first time in years, the world didn't have a script prepared. The names were supposed to appear. They always appeared. Every night. Their absence was a gaping hole, a violation of the natural order we'd been forced to accept. And although the rest of the world was confused, maybe scared, I was terrified. I alone knew it wasn't random. The phenomenon hadn't paused. It hadn't malfunctioned. It hadn't offered mercy. It had offered a warning. To me, my hands trembled as I set the phone down. I didn't reply to anyone. Instead, I went to the bathroom sink and splashed cold water on my face, gripping the porcelain until my fingers ached. My reflection stared back, paler than usual, eyes ringed with exhaustion. I didn't look like someone chosen or special. I looked like someone unraveling. With a sinking feeling in my gut, I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. The neighborhood buzzed with tension. People hovered in their yards, talking in hushed voices, as though loud noise might provoke something unseen. Across the street, Mrs. Lane, normally cheerful, clenched her rosary with white knuckles. Two kids rode their bikes in nervous circles, their parents watching them with restless eyes. No one looked at the sky. Not yet. They didn't want to acknowledge the absence. They didn't want to confront the idea that the pattern might be changing. But I couldn't escape it. Every moment since sunrise felt like the world was winding up, tightening a cord that would snap by nightfall. I walked to the end of the block, trying to clear my thoughts, when I noticed a man leaning against a lamppost. First, I assumed he was just another anxious onlooker. But then he lifted his gaze and stared directly at me. Not at the street, not at the empty sky, at me. He pushed off the lamppost and began walking toward me. His suit was crisp, too crisp for a neighborhood morning. His shoes were polished, his expression unreadable. I felt the instinctive prickle of danger creep down my spine. He stopped a few feet away. "You're Ellis, right?" My blood turned cold. "Do I know you?" "Not yet," he said. "But you'll want to." There was something deeply wrong about his smile. It didn't reach his eyes. It didn't attempt to. It was practiced, an expression worn like perfume without sincerity. He lowered his voice. "You saw something last night." My stomach lurched. "How do you know that?" "Because nothing appeared in the sky," he replied calmly. "Which means something different happened. Something unprecedented." His gaze sharpened. "And when the rules break, someone is usually involved." I stepped back. "You need to leave me alone." "I will," he said, "after you answer one question." "No," he continued anyway. "What did the sky show you?" A chill swept up my spine. He knew too much, far too much. And the way everyone around us seemed oblivious to our conversation made the moment feel even more unreal, like the world had blurred around us. "You should walk away," I whispered. "I'm serious." He studied me for a long, unsettling moment, then nodded slowly. Not in agreement, in acknowledgement. "You're scared," he said softly. "Good. That means you understand what's coming." I swallowed hard. "What is coming?" His smile widened by a fraction. "You'll see tonight." Just as he stepped back, he added, "You should know. You're not the only one who received a warning." My heart slammed against my ribs. "What do you mean?" But he was already walking away. He didn't answer. He didn't look back. He rounded the corner and disappeared as though he'd never been there at all. For several seconds, I couldn't move. His final words echoed in my skull, repeating until they dug into me like claws. I wasn't the only one who received a warning, which meant someone else had seen something in the sky. Someone else was part of whatever was coming tonight. I didn't know if that made me feel less alone or infinitely worse. When I finally returned home, the afternoon air felt heavier than before, weighted with anticipation. Every tick of the clock seemed louder, dragging me toward sunset like a prisoner being marched toward execution. The warning's words replayed over and over. "Don't watch the sky tomorrow night. If you do, you won't live to see the dawn." But the fear growing inside me was tangled with something else now. Curiosity, dread-laced but irresistible. Because if I didn't watch the sky, I'd never know what was coming. And ignorance might be even more dangerous. Evening crept in fast. Too fast. As if time itself was hurrying toward some predestined moment. Shadows stretched across the floors like reaching fingers. My chest tightened. When the first star appeared outside, my knees nearly gave out. Not because it was strange, but because it wasn't a star at all. It was a name, a single, solitary name, one I recognized instantly, the name of the man from the lamppost, and it was burning brighter than any name I'd ever seen. His name burned in the sky like a wound cut open across the heavens. Andrew Marrow. The letters glowed violently, whiter, sharper, almost electric. Every previous name I'd ever seen drifting across the night sky had been soft, like ghostly candlelight. But this one screamed. I staggered toward the window, gripping the sill so hard my nails scraped the wood. Andrew Marrow, the man with the too perfect suit. The man who approached me like he already knew my secrets. The man who said I wasn't the only one warned. Now his name blazed overhead like a death sentence delivered with extra emphasis. My breath caught, choking me halfway. He knew this was coming. He knew. He sought me out on purpose. And now he was marked. The glow intensified, throwing pale, trembling light across my living room. Something about it felt furious, like the sky wasn't just listing a death. It was punishing one. My phone buzzed with frantic messages. I ignored them. I couldn't look away from the name. What did he do? Why him? Why now? My hands shook violently. My heart hammered so fast it hurt. And then, instinctively, I did exactly what the shadow had warned me not to do. I kept watching the sky. The moment I realized it, a cold spike of panic ripped through my stomach. I forced myself to step back, to look down, to break eye contact with the glowing letters. But curiosity was a gravitational pull, one too strong to escape. Before I even realized what I was doing, I lifted my gaze again, and the sky changed. The name flickered, once, twice. Then the letters smeared outward like wet ink dragged across paper. The glow stretched, twisted, warped, as though unseen hands were tearing the light apart. A new shape formed above the fading letters. A second name. I stumbled back so fast I crashed into the table.
Mine.
My stomach dropped to the floor. My vision tunneled. My skin crawled with 1,000 crawling needles. No, no, no. I squeezed my eyes shut, refusing to see it, refusing to let the sight bury itself into my mind. The warning thundered through my thoughts like a heartbeat. Don't watch the sky tomorrow night. If you do, you won't live to see the dawn. I had watched it. I was still watching it. And now the sky had written my fate. My throat tightened until I couldn't breathe. My lungs burned. The room spun. I clawed at the air like I could tear reality open and climb out of it. Then something boomed. A sound like a cracking thunderclap shook the house. The windows rattled. The lights flickered. I dropped to my knees, covering my ears, teeth clenched against the vibration tearing through my bones. When the sound faded, a thick silence smothered everything. I forced myself to look up. The sky was dark. No names.
No glow.
No stars. Just a black void. Like the sky had been wiped clean. Like someone or something had erased it. My pulse pounded in my throat. Sweat dripped down my spine. I crawled toward the window on trembling hands and knees. Nothing. Not even the moon. A night sky without stars was wrong. Deeply wrong. Wrong in a way that made my skin feel too tight, like something inside me wanted to crawl out. Then, a knock at the door. One single knock. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. I froze. My chest stopped moving. My breath held hostage by my own terror. Another knock followed. Just as slow. Just as heavy. Not demanding entry, just announcing presence. I rose shakily. The knocking continued, one slow thud at a time. The sound seemed to pulse through the walls, vibrating through the floorboards, syncing with my heartbeat. I approached the door. Each step felt like walking toward a cliff edge. My hand hovered over the doorknob. Don't, I whispered to myself. Don't open it. But part of me knew it didn't matter. Whatever was on the other side already knew I was there. The knocking stopped. Silence. And then a voice. Not loud, not harsh, but cold. Cold like something speaking from the other side of a frozen grave. Ellis. I staggered backward. My name. Spoken without hesitation. Without confusion. as if the voice had always known it. I swallowed hard. Who's there? Silence again. Then, you saw too much. My heart slammed against my ribs so violently I thought it might crack. I reached for something, anything, to defend myself with. My hand landed on a heavy ceramic vase. The voice continued, as calm as it was terrifying. The sky warned you, and you ignored it. My breath shook. What do you want from me? A soft exhale came through the door, like a sigh, but one devoid of emotion, as if mimicked rather than felt. To correct the mistake, I tightened my grip on the vase until the edges dug painfully into my palm. What mistake? You are not meant to witness what comes next. I took a step back, then another. The voice sharpened. Open the door. No, open the door. I shook my head violently. Go away. A long pause. Then the voice softened into something almost gentle. You won't survive the night if you don't let me in. My skin crawled. Why? Because the sky chose you, and once it chooses you, others follow. Others. Plural. A horrifying shiver climbed up my spine. I backed further into the living room, the vase trembling in my grip. A new sound filled the silence. Footsteps, but not just one set. Several. Slow. Dragging. Approaching from all sides of the house. My pulse exploded into panic. Something wasn't just at the door. Something was surrounding the house. All you have to do, the voice murmured through the wood, is let me inside. My legs nearly gave out. Outside, something scratched along the siding. Another shadow moved past the window. A figure paused on the porch, its silhouette too tall, too thin. The house suddenly felt tiny, fragile, a box made of paper. They were gathering. For me, the shadow in my house had warned me. The sky had escalated. And now something else wanted me, too. I clutched the vase so tightly I felt the ceramic crack. No, I whispered to the voice beyond the door. I'm not opening anything. The voice responded with a soft, chilling chuckle. Then we'll come in another way. A thin, splintering crack echoed from the back of the house. I spun toward the sound so fast my vision blurred. My breath hitched, snagging in my throat as the crack was followed by another, sharper, deeper. The unmistakable sound of wood under pressure. Something was trying to get in. No, I whispered, stepping backward until my spine pressed against the living room wall. Another crack, another, then a long, slow creak that made my stomach twist. I tightened my grip on the half-broken vase, my knuckles burning white. My heart was pounding so violently I felt the vibration in my teeth. They were everywhere, moving around the house, scratching at the siding, pacing along the perimeter like predators circling a dying animal. But it wasn't random. It was coordinated. The front door stayed silent now. Whatever had spoken wasn't knocking anymore. It had joined the others, shifting its position, merging into the encroaching ring around the house. Then tap, 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 a rhythmic knock against the bedroom window. I swallowed hard, my throat painfully tight. Tap, tap, tap. My skin crawled, prickling with every sound. Another noise scraped from the laundry room, a dragging sound, like nails raked along tile. The lights flickered overhead, buzzing with electricity like they were struggling to stay on. I forced myself to inhale, then bang. The back door jolted violently in its frame. I screamed before I could stop myself. Bang, bang, bang. Each blow rattled the hinges, the entire house trembling from the force. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The pictures on the wall shook subtly. If they wanted to tear the door off its frame, they could. What do you want from me? I shouted, my voice cracking apart. Silence. Then a whisper, too close, too sudden, came from the darkened hallway behind me. You! I whipped around, vase raised like a weapon. The hallway was empty, but the whisper hadn't come from inside my mind this time. It had come from inside my house. A cold tremor raced down my spine. My lungs tightened as panic clawed up my throat. No, one of them was already inside. I backed into the living room, eyes scanning every shadow. The house felt different now, heavier, like the air had thickened. The shadows didn't seem to sit still. They shifted at the edges of my vision, melting, blending, sharpening. My every instinct screamed, run. But run where? Outside was worse. Inside was closing in. A soft click sounded from the kitchen. I froze. The light above the sink flickered weakly. A slow shape drifted into view, like smoke leaking through an invisible crack, pooling onto the tile, gathering mass. My heart felt like it stopped. The shape lifted itself, rising from nothing into a human-like silhouette, taller than the shadow I saw last night, broader, heavier, like a second version built of thicker darkness. It had no face. Or maybe it did. Maybe I just couldn't look at it long enough to make sense of it. My pulse thrummed in my ears. My fingers slipped on the vase, sweat making my grip uncertain. The shadow took a step toward me. Not gliding, stepping. A physical foot hitting the floor. My terror spiked so violently I nearly dropped the vase. This one was different. It had weight. The shadow tilted its head, studying me with invisible eyes. Then it raised an arm, not to point upward like the first one had. Pointed directly at me. "Stay away," I yelled, stumbling backward. The shadow paused, its form rippling. Then, a crack split through the living room window. I spun toward it just as a thin, elongated hand pressed against the glass from outside. Its fingers were too long, too jointed, bending in ways no human hand could. My breath seized. Another hand joined it, then another, then a face. Hollow, pale, pressed against the glass like someone watching from underwater. My mind shattered with fear. They were everywhere now, at every door, every window, inside, outside, all closing in. And in the sky, still black, starless, empty. Something glowed faintly, as if struggling to push through. Couldn't look. I must not look. My blood thundered in my ears. The shadow inside the house stepped closer. "You should have listened," it whispered. Its voice grinding like ice dragged across stone. The room shook again. A low, deep rumble vibrated through the floorboards, through my bones. The house creaked violently, the walls shuddering as if something massive brushed against it from the outside. My knees buckled. I crashed to the floor, the vase shattering beside me. The lights cut out. Darkness swallowed everything. Only the outlines of the shadows remained, moving, converging, closing in. Footsteps echoed around me, not human ones. Slow, dragging, uncoordinated, like a marionette pulled by too many strings. My breath turned shallow and sharp. I crawled backward blindly, hands sliding across the floor, searching for any escape, any cover. And then my fingers brushed something. Fabric. Human fabric. A coat sleeve. Someone was standing behind me. I jolted upright, stumbling away as a figure materialized in the dark. A human shape, not smoke or shadow. For a moment, hope flared in my chest. But that hope died when the figure leaned slightly forward, the faintest sliver of moonlight catching their face, and I recognized him. Andrew Marrow. The man whose name had appeared in the sky. The man who should already be dead. His eyes were too wide, his face too pale, his expression too empty. He took a breath that sounded like brittle leaves crushed underfoot. "Ellis," he whispered, voice fractured, like someone speaking through a broken radio. I shook violently. "Why you're," he shuddered, like a marionette struck by a faulty current. "Wrong." Another shudder. "I died at sunset." My heart lurched painfully. Before I could speak, he reached toward me, his movements jerking, unnatural. "You have to run." I shook my head wildly. I can't." "You must," he hissed, voice cracking into static. "They're coming for you because the sky changed. Because you saw what you weren't supposed to see." The walls groaned again. A shadow oozed out of the hallway, merging with the one in the kitchen. Andrew's hand clamped onto my arm with shocking strength. "Run." A thunderous boom shook the house, so powerful the floor heaved beneath my feet. And somewhere above us, the sky finally tore open. Light poured through the ceiling. A light I should never have seen. And the moment it touched me, everything changed. The light that poured through the ceiling didn't behave like light. It didn't illuminate the room. It devoured it. Every surface it touched lost its details. My walls dissolving into vague, colorless shapes, the furniture flattening into silhouettes. Even the shadows recoiled, shrinking away from it like living things burned by a flame. Andrew's grip on my arm tightened. "Don't look at it," he rasped. "Don't." I squeezed my eyes shut, but too late. I had already seen it, and the light was already inside me. Not physically, not like heat or brightness. It felt like fingers sinking into my skull, prying apart thoughts, rifling through memories. A crushing pressure built behind my eyes, as if something enormous pressed against my mind from the other side of reality. My knees buckled. The room twisted, stretching like liquid. The shadows elongated into monstrous shapes, their limbs dragging trails of darkness across the buckling walls. Andrew jerked me toward the front door. "We don't have time, move." I stumbled after him, half blind, vision white at the edges. The house groaned under the weight of something unseen. A crack split across the ceiling, raining plaster dust. Behind us, the shadows merged into a towering mass, arms, limbs, silhouettes blending into one undulating creature of pure darkness. It was coming. For me. Andrew yanked the door open. A blast of cold night air hit me like a slap. But the outside world wasn't safer. Not anymore. Shapes moved across the street. Figures tall and skeletal. Silhouettes stretched unnaturally long beneath the dim, starless sky. Their heads turned in unison toward us, sensing movement, sensing me. Andrew dragged me down the porch steps. "Don't look up," he hissed. "Don't you dare." I didn't, but I still felt the sky above us. A massive, pressurized absence. A hunger. A presence aware of me now, as though my single glimpse had tethered me to it permanently. We stumbled into the yard. A deep, thrumming vibration shook the ground beneath my feet. The dog next door whimpered in its kennel. Every house on the block seemed to breathe, the walls contracting and expanding subtly, like lungs trying to gasp for air. "What's happening to the sky?" I choked out. Andrew didn't answer. Or maybe he couldn't. His jaw clenched, his eyes hollow and terrified. He pulled me toward the street, his movements jerking with every step, like a broken puppet forcing itself forward. Behind us, the massive shadow creature oozed through the doorway of my house, its form scraping against the frame. The lights inside flickered, then died completely. "Where are we going?" I breathed, stumbling over the curb. "Away from light," Andrew rasped. "Away from them." But the streetlights began to buzz. One flickering, then another, then all of them, stuttering violently like they were on the verge of exploding. The air shimmered with static. A crack formed in the sky, long, thin, glowing, like a seam being pulled apart. I wasn't supposed to see this. I wasn't supposed to see any of this. The crack widened, spreading across the sky like the world's largest fracture. Through it came a low hum, a vibration that shook the trees, rattled windows, destabilized my bones. Andrew shoved me behind a parked car. "Stay down." "What is that?" I whispered. He didn't answer with words. He pointed. The sky filled with names. Thousands.
Millions.
Not glowing gently, not floating like the soft omens they used to be. These names sizzled like burning metal. They appeared too fast to read, too many to comprehend. And then they began to fall. Tiny glowing fragments rained down like meteor showers, pieces of names breaking apart midair, sizzling out before reaching the ground, releasing a sound like screams swallowed by wind. Andrew's voice was a harsh whisper. "They're dying. All of them. Everyone whose name is appearing." I stared at him, horror clawing up my throat. "But those are millions." He nodded, tremors running through his body. "This is the breaking." The air vibrated again so violently I pressed my palms to my ears. "What's the breaking?" I shouted over the noise. Andrew crouched low. His pale, dead-like face was lit by the falling fragments. "The moment the sky resets," he said, voice cracking, The moment it chooses a new cycle, a new order, a new rule, the shadows across the street split open, like curtains parting. Figures stepped out. Not shadows, not smoke, people, or things wearing the shape of people. Expressionless, hollow, their eyes white, unblinking. Their limbs moved like they'd forgotten how joints worked. Andrew inhaled sharply. "They've found you." My heart collapsed inside my chest. "Why me?" My voice was barely a whisper. Andrew turned to me slowly, his expression cracking with something like pity. "Because your name never appears in the sky." I froze. "What?" "Not yesterday. Not tonight. Not ever." I shook my head. "That's not true. I saw." "You saw the sky try to write your name," he said. "But it never finished. It never solidified. It broke instead." The falling names hissed overhead like burning stars. Andrew gripped my shoulders. "You're the error." The shadows converged behind us. The sky split wider, and the world began to scream. The scream wasn't one sound. It was thousands. A chorus of voices. Human, inhuman, broken. Echoing from every direction. Vibrating through the asphalt. Rattling through my ribs. The street warped under my feet like it was turning liquid. The air shimmered with pressure. Andrew pulled me lower behind the car. "Stay down. Don't let them see you." But it was too late. The hollow-eyed figures on the street had already stopped moving. All of them turned their heads toward us at the exact same moment. Slowly, like marionettes tugged by invisible strings. Their necks cracked. Their jaws hung open, unhinging wider than they should. One of them spoke. No lips moved.
Nos rout vibrated.
The voice came from everywhere. From above. "There you are." A spike of cold slammed through my skull so hard I gasped. My hands flew to my ears, but it wasn't sound, it was thought. Something massive pushed against my mind, trying to pry it open like a stubborn door. Andrew grabbed my face, forcing me to look at him. "Listen to me," he said, frantic. "The sky won't let you go now. It's already recognized you." "Recognized me for what?" I yelled. He hesitated just 1 second too long. A shadow slipped out from beneath the nearest figure. Flat at first, then rising, stretching, filling out into a tall, formless shape. Its limbs elongated, dragging lines of black across the concrete. Pointed at me. The ground cracked under its feet. Andrew shoved me backward. "Run!" We bolted across the street. The hollow figures jerking toward us in stiff, unnatural motions. Their arms stretched out, fingers splitting into strands of shadow that whipped toward my legs like ropes. One wrapped around my ankle. I fell hard on my palms, gravel scraping skin.
No.
Andrew grabbed me and yanked so violently my shoulder nearly dislocated. The shadow tether snapped like overstretched rubber, recoiling back into the figure. The sky thundered again. Names poured down in sheets like burning rain. Andrew pushed me through a narrow gap between two houses. The air here was cooler, denser, vibrating with a dull electric hum. I stumbled after him. "Where are we going?" "To a place the sky can't see." My breathing was ragged. "Is that even possible?" "For you, yes. For me," I repeated. "Andrew, you keep talking like I'm some kind of..." We rounded a corner, stopped cold. Something huge towered in the alley ahead. A shape so tall its head scraped the sagging telephone wires. Its body was thin, unreasonably thin, like a stretched silhouette pinned to the world. The shape's edges flickered, glitching in and out of reality like a corrupted hologram. It bent its head, no features, just a blank surface of darkness, tilting toward me. Andrew swore under his breath. He grabbed my wrist. "Don't look at it," he whispered. But I already had. The moment my eyes touched it, I felt something shift deep inside my skull. A click, a lock sliding open, or being removed. The creature straightened. The world dimmed around it, colors desaturating. Andrew's voice sounded far away. "She saw me," the creature said, not aloud but inside my bones. Andrew's eyes widened.
No.
And oh, Andrew, I whispered, "what did I just look at?" He didn't breathe for a moment. Then, "That's a registrar." The air tightened. The tall creature took one slow step toward us. Its limbs bending like paper folded the wrong way. Andrew stepped in front of me, trembling. "Please," he said, voice breaking. "Not yet. She's not ready." The registrar paused, then lowered its head back toward me. "I am not here for readiness," it said. "I am here for verification." Its arm unfolded, long, thin, ribbon-like shadow strips forming a hand. It reached toward my chest. "State your given name," it said. My mouth opened, nothing came out. I tried again. No sound. My throat locked. Not physically, something deeper. Like the name refused to form. Like it wasn't there at all. Andrew's horror grew with every passing second. The registrar's blank face tilted. Again. My mind spun. I knew my name. I had said it thousands of times. But right now, felt distant, fogged, unreachable. My voice cracked. "I don't know." The registrar's fingers touched my sternum. Ice exploded through my chest. Andrew lunged forward. "Stop. She doesn't have a name." Everything froze. The registrar's faceless head lifted toward him. "Impossible," it said. "All entities belong to the ledger." "Not her," Andrew shouted. "She was never written. She's an anomaly." The registrar's voice sharpened. "A nameless entity cannot exist." His grip tightened. Dark cracks spread across my vision like spiderwebs. My heartbeat stuttered. The world warped and pulsed, every color draining away. Andrew screamed, "Let her go!" The registrar paused, turned its head toward the sky, as if listening. Then, in a voice like metal tearing, "Correction required." Its grip on me tightened further. The sky split open wider above us. Names poured out like molten light, and the registrar whispered, "We will assign you one." The words didn't make sense at first. Assign me one? A name? The sky roared overhead, the chorus of dying echoes vibrating through my ribs. My lungs felt carved out, hollow and burning. The registrar's shadow hand pressed deeper into the center of my chest. Cold spread beneath my skin like ink bleeding through paper. Andrew was shouting something, begging, maybe, but his voice sounded muffled, distant, like I was underwater. The registrar leaned closer, its faceless head inches from mine. "You will be entered into the ledger," it said, "and your place in the sequence will be restored." Stop," I whispered. "Please stop." Didn't. Instead, it lifted its other arm, unfolding a ribbon of darkness that hardened into a pointed shape, something like a quill or needle. Andrew threw himself at the creature again, punching at shadows like a man drowning. "Don't touch her." The registrar barely moved. One flick of its arm sent Andrew crashing into the brick wall so hard the impact shook dust loose. He slumped, choking, but somehow pushed himself up again, bleeding, screaming, still trying. "Because of me." The registrar pressed the needle shape toward my forehead. "When I inscribe you," it said, "the sky will claim you. A death will be assigned." "No," Andrew rasped. "You don't understand. She wasn't born under this system. She wasn't born into the sky at all. She's not part of your stupid damned registry." The needle hovered above my skin. I dug my nails into the creature's arm, but they sank into nothing, like trying to claw smoke. My breath came in panicked little bursts. "What does that even mean?" I gasped. "Andrew, what does it mean I wasn't born into the sky?" His eyes locked on mine. Fear heightened to a level I'd never seen. "Because you weren't supposed to be here," he said hoarsely. "You weren't meant for this world. You weren't meant for this sky." The registrar reacted instantly. His head snapped toward him. "You acknowledge knowledge forbidden to unlisted entities." Andrew spat blood on the ground. "I don't care. You're not touching her." The registrar's hand pressed harder against my chest. My spine arched. A silent scream tore out of me as a blast of cold ripped through my core. My memories flickered, scrambled. My first day of school, my mother's face, my childhood bedroom. Static tore through all of it. like someone was flipping channels inside my brain. The registrar's voice twisted, multiple layers at once. Identity. Unresolved. The needle inched down. Initiating assignment protocol. Couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Andrew staggered forward, using the wall to push himself upright. He was shaking violently, blood running down his temple, but he kept coming toward us. His voice was almost gone. A rasp. Stop. Please, she'll die. The registrar paused again. Not because of Andrew, but because of something above us. The names in the sky, thousands of them, shifted, flickered, like the whole display was glitching. Some names blinked in and out. Some stretched. Some split into duplicates. The registrar raised its head. Sequence instability detected. The sky boomed, so loud it knocked me sideways into the creature's grip. My ears rang, my vision blurred. The registrar spoke again, faster this time. Anomalous interference confirmed, it said. Origin point. Unidentified. Andrew froze, then looked at me. My stomach dropped. No, he whispered. No, no, no. The registrar turned its blank face back toward me. You are disrupting the order. I'm not doing anything. I choked, but the air around me shimmered. Waves of distortion building like heat off asphalt. The cracks in the sky widened, glowing bright white around the edges. Andrew staggered back a step, shielding his face. She's destabilizing the skies. Script, he yelled. If you assign her a name, you might collapse the entire sequence. The registrar absorbed that in silence. Then, further analysis required. His grip loosened around my chest. Not released, but loosened. The needle point retreated a centimeter from my forehead. My lungs seized with sudden air. Andrew limped closer, grabbing my hand, squeezing it. It's okay. Stay with me. The registrar's limbs convulsed. For the first time, something like uncertainty rippled through its flickering outline. Your existence contradicts the registry's foundation, it said. A nameless entity that interacts with the sequence is impossible. I didn't ask for this. I screamed. You are an anomaly, it said, and anomalies must be corrected. The needle lowered again, but the sky thundered so violently the ground shook. The names twisted, folding in on themselves. Some shattered into sparks. Others merged. Others split into dozens of fragments. The registrar jerked its head upward. Unhandled error. The words vibrated through my skull. External source unidentified. A wind whipped down the alleyway, cold and sharp. Andrew's fingers tightened painfully around mine. Don't let go, he whispered. Whatever happens, don't let go. The distortion around me expanded, spreading outward like a shockwave. The registrar recoiled for the first time, limbs bending inward, shielding itself. The sky split open, and a new sound poured through. Not thunder, not names. A voice that sounded like mine, whispering from above, calling down, calling me. At first I thought it was an echo, some distortion of my own voice bouncing off the alley walls. But then it grew, layering, strengthening, until the truth settled into my bones with an icy finality. It wasn't an echo. It wasn't coming from my mouth. The voice above was separate from me, but identical. Come back. The word rippled through the sky like a stone tossed into a lake. Andrew went rigid. The registrar staggered backward. Not physically, but like the space around it warped, repelled by the sound. Impossible, it muttered.
Impossible.
Impossible. The voice came again, this time louder. Come back. We didn't finish. My fingers seized. A pulse of pain shot through my temples so sharp it felt like electrified needles stabbing into my skull. I fell to my knees, dragging Andrew with me. He pulled me close, holding the back of my head. Don't listen. Don't you dare listen. Stay here with me. The voice ignored him. We need you. My breath hitched. The words vibrated inside my chest like a tuning fork, because I knew that voice, somewhere deep, deep enough that the recognition felt older than memory. older than my childhood, older than anything I remembered being. My vision blurred, then refocused. The sky above wasn't just glowing with names anymore. It was opening, splitting like fabric, peeling back layer by layer. Beyond the cracks was something vast, something dark, something full of shimmering lines, lights, shapes, like a massive cathedral of code floating in nothingness. Patterns moved inside it like living organisms. Couldn't breathe. My identical voice whispered again, soft and patient. You don't belong there. Come back to us. Back to who? I yelled. Silence. But the cracks in the sky widened. And then I saw her, a silhouette stepping through the fractures of light and shadow. My silhouette. She was me, same height, same posture, but her face was hidden in the glare. Her hair drifted upward as if she stood underwater, strands floating unnaturally. Her outline flickered like she wasn't entirely solid. When she spoke, the sky dimmed. You were never supposed to leave. My lungs emptied. Andrew pulled me closer, half shielding me with his own body. Don't look at it. She's not real. She's not you. But she was. I knew it. The registrar twitched. A glitchy spasm that rippled down its limbs. It dropped to one knee. Not out of respect. Out of fear. Primary archive detected. It said in a trembling, multi-layered voice. Authority level, unreachable. The words didn't register at first. Then they did. Primary archive. The phrase slotted into something in my mind like a puzzle piece snapping into place. My stomach lurched. What does that mean? I whispered. Andrew swallowed hard. It's a sky term. It's the highest layer. The source. The place the names come from. The shadow me drifted closer to the opening in the sky. Not stepping, gliding. Her feet didn't touch anything. Her eyes glowed the same color as the names, white with a faint shifting rainbow at the edges. She extended a hand toward me. Not demanding. Not hostile. Just inviting. Come back, she whispered again. We're incomplete without you. My bones vibrated with the pull. Not like compulsion. Like something was resonating inside me. Some frequency aligning with hers. I tried to pull my hand away from Andrew, reflexively, without thinking. His grip tightened instantly.
No.
Don't you dare. I'm not doing it, I whispered. I'm not. But the pull was there, growing, strengthening. The registrar's voice crackled, its form flickering violently. Entity must not return. That will destabilize. The shadow me looked at it, just looked, and the registrar collapsed into a two-dimensional smear on the ground, like someone had erased its depth. Its limbs flattened, its torso thinned until it was a sheet of darkness against the pavement. Then it slid backward into the cracks of the world and vanished, leaving only the sound of tearing static behind. I stared, shaking. The shadow me lowered her hand, her glowing eyes softening. They'll try to bind you, she said. They'll try to define you. But you were never theirs. My throat tightened. Then whose am I? Her hand rose again. Mine. Andrew moved in front of me instantly, shielding me. Stay away from her, he growled. You don't get to take her back. Shadow me tilted her head. Not annoyed. Almost amused. Oh, Andrew. Her voice dripped with familiarity. Too much familiarity. You think you saved her. Andrew froze. A tremor started in his fingers. Shadow me drifted lower, closer to him, her form brightening until the edges blurred like a star going nova. But you're the reason she fell. Andrew's entire body locked. And in that instant, I realized he already knew what she meant. He knew exactly what this thing was, and what I was, and he'd been hiding it from me all along. Andrew staggered back as if the words had physically struck him. His eyes widened, his jaw clenched, and for the first time since the sky split open, he looked truly terrified. Not of the sky, not of the registrar, but of her. Shadow me. Andrew, I whispered, my voice shaking. What is she talking about? He didn't answer. Couldn't. Shadow me drifted closer, her feet hovering inches above the shattered air. Her face remained hidden, but her eyes, those blinding, shifting white eyes, never left Andrew. "Tell her," she murmured. "You owe her that much." Andrew shook his head slowly. I can't." "Tell me what?" I demanded. Shadow Me laughed. A soft, lilting sound that didn't belong in a place like this. It echoed in the sky like wind chimes made of broken glass. "He thinks he's protecting you." Andrew swallowed hard. "I was protecting her." "No," the shadow corrected. "You were protecting yourself." He flinched. I stared at him. "Andrew, what did you—" Shadow Me lifted a hand. The sky behind her rippled like disturbed water. And in that ripple a memory surfaced. Not a memory I recognized. Not something from my life. But something older. Ancient. A massive chamber of shifting light. Rows upon rows of glowing glyphs floating in the dark. Voices whispering in harmonic patterns. And in the center, two figures. One of them was her. Shadow Me. The other was me. Or some version of me. We were standing together, fingertips touching, faces close, sharing something silent and deep. And Andrew was there too. Not how he looked now. Younger, scared, watching us through a crack in the world like an intruder spying through a door he shouldn't have opened. The vision collapsed. I gasped, stumbling backward. What was that?" Shadow Me drifted a little nearer. The light around her dimmed, the cracks in the sky flickering as if straining to hold themselves open. "Your life here began with him," she said. "It was his choice." I whipped around to Andrew. His face was ashen. "I didn't know it would turn out like this," he said hoarsely. "I swear to you I didn't know." My voice came out sharp. "Know what?" Shadow Me answered for him. "He pulled you out." "What does that mean?" "He stole you from the archive." My heart lurched. Andrew whispered, I couldn't leave you there. I couldn't watch them." Shadow Me's voice sharpened. "You interfered with the sky on a foundational level, Andrew. You took her out of the sequence." He grabbed my hands, trembling. "I had to. They were erasing you." Shadow Me's voice echoed across the sky. "Because that was her role." The world spun. Darkness crept around the edges of my vision. "My role?" I breathed. Shadow Me answered. "You were a script keeper, a regulator of names, a guardian of the ledger." I shook my head violently. "No, that's impossible. I'm just human," she finished, tilting her head. "No, you're not." Andrew squeezed my palms tighter, desperation bleeding through his voice. "You were disappearing," he said. "You were dissolving, forgetting your shape, forgetting your identity. The archive was shutting you down." "Why?" I whispered. Shadow Me's light dimmed. "Because you questioned the sequence." The word cracked something inside me, like a cord tightening. A memory bubbled up, fragmented, blurry. My voice, my old voice, crying out in a vast chamber. "Why are they dying? Why does the sequence demand it? Why do we decide?" And then darkness. Shadow Me continued. "You asked forbidden questions. You resisted. You broke the archives. Protocol." Andrew's voice shook. "They were going to wipe you, rewrite you." Shadow Me floated closer, her brightness flaring unbearably. "And so he stole you. He tore you out of the archive and forced you into a body here. A human shell. An identity." My knees buckled. He caught me, pulling me against his chest. "I couldn't lose you," he whispered. Shadow Me hovered above us like a fallen star. "And now she's destabilizing the sky, Andrew, because she was never meant to exist outside of it." I looked up at her, my pulse pounding in my skull. "What do you want from me?" I choked. Her hand extended slowly, gently, to finish what we started. Andrew yanked me backwards, arms around me as though he could hold me down by force.
No.
"You're not taking her." Shadow Me studied him. Her voice softened. "You never understood." She looked at me again. "She left willingly." My heart froze. What? Shadow Me's eyes glowed brighter. "She wasn't stolen. She ran." Andrew stiffened. No, he said through clenched teeth. No, that's not true. Ask her. The world swayed. My mind tore, because the memory I saw next was mine. And it was clear, crystal clear. I was in the archive, surrounded by light, shaking, breathless, desperately grabbing Andrew's hands through a crack in reality. Take me out, I whispered to him. Please, before they rewrite me, before they erase me. He hesitated, then pulled me. I ran. I chose it. Both versions of me were telling the truth. Shadow me drifted lower, close enough that her voice felt like a whisper in my ear. You ran from us, from yourself. Andrew's arms tightened around me. And you made her forget. Shadow me added softly. Andrew froze. I stared at him. You made me forget? He didn't answer. His silence was an answer. The air cracked. The sky trembled. Shadow me lowered her hand until it hovered inches from mine. Memory or safety, she whispered. You cannot have both. And the world waited for me to choose. My mind fractured along invisible seams. Memory or safety. The choice felt impossible. My lungs fought for air, each breath thin and razor-edged. Andrew's arms were tight around me. Protective, desperate, terrified. Shadow me hovered inches away, her presence bending the light, warping the air, making the world feel unreal. Tell me, I whispered, my voice cracking. Tell me the truth. Did you really make me forget? Andrew didn't answer right away. He didn't have to. His silence answered everything. Shadow me glowed a little brighter, her outline pulsing with soft, eerie rhythm. He thought he was saving you. I was saving her, Andrew said, his voice shaking violently. You don't understand. She was falling apart. She couldn't hold her form. She could barely remember what she was. They were ready to rewrite her, to turn her into something else. I twisted out of his arms, stepping back. The motion hurt him, like a knife. Why didn't you tell me? Andrew's voice came out strangled. Because you asked me to make you forget. It was the only way to get you out. The only way they wouldn't track you. A laugh, wrong, echoing, broken, slipped out of Shadow me. And you believed that? She asked softly. Andrew's jaw tightened. Be quiet. Shadow me's eyes dimmed to slits of white fire. She chose to forget. But you chose to hide the truth because you wanted her dependent on you. That's not true, Andrew snapped. A flicker of memory hit me. A memory I didn't want. I saw myself crying in a chamber of shifting light, repeating Andrew's name, reaching through cracks in reality for him, trembling, afraid, begging, then static, darkness, a hand covering my eyes, and a voice, Andrew's voice, whispering, You won't survive the escape if you remember. Forget everything. I'll take care of you. My heart twisted. Andrew reached for me. I did it because you would have broken apart. Because you were collapsing. Your identity was fracturing. Shadow me moved closer. You don't know the truth of what she was. My throat tightened. What was I? Shadow me touched her own chest. A script keeper. Yes. Then she touched the air, and the sky pulsed. But more than that, you were a name maker. The sky rippled violently. Even Andrew seemed shaken by that. No, he whispered. Don't tell her that. Shadow me ignored him. Names came from you, she said gently. The ledger, the sequence, the deaths. She extended a hand toward the sky. Names flickered, shifted, rearranged themselves like obedient fireflies. You didn't record them, she said. You created them. My legs nearly buckled. Andrew's voice cracked with panic. Stop. She doesn't need to hear this. She does. Shadow me's glare hardened. You hid it because you feared what she would become if she remembered. Andrew lunged at her, but his hands passed through her like mist. He stumbled, catching himself on the wall. Don't listen, he shouted to me. She's manipulating you. She wants you back in their system. Shadow me drifted behind him. Her hand brushed the back of his neck. He froze mid-breath. not paralyzed, just listening. Her voice slid into the space between us. He loves you, she said. That much is true. Andrew inhaled sharply, but said nothing. But he fears you more. Lightning split the sky with a jagged streak. The names above scattered like startled birds. The ground trembled beneath us. Shadow Me glided toward me again, her expression unreadable. You ran because you doubted them. I didn't doubt them, I whispered. I doubted myself. You doubted the deaths, she corrected. You doubted the sequence. You doubted your purpose. That's why they moved to rewrite you. My fingertips tingled. My heartbeat slowed. And then, a memory rose from the depths of my mind like a corpse surfacing from black water. I stood in the archive, trembling. I stared at a glowing name and whispered, I don't want to kill her. Shadow Me nodded once, gently. Because you felt everything they felt, she said. Every fear, every breath, every pain. My stomach twisted. You were the only script keeper who suffered for the names you created. Andrew stared at the ground, jaw clenched so hard his teeth might crack. Enough, he whispered. Please. Shadow Me turned her glowing eyes on him. You couldn't bear to watch her break. Then she looked at me. So you stole her. She floated back a few inches, giving me space. The sky split wider above us, fragments of darkness falling like silent ash. The air grew colder, sharper. Time felt stretched thin, like a thread ready to snap. Shadow Me extended her hand again. You can remember everything, she said softly. Your true power, your true name, your true role. She paused. Or you can stay here, small and frightened, pretending to be human. The words cut deep. Andrew's voice shook with sobs he was trying not to let out. Don't leave me, he whispered. Please, don't leave. Shadow Me whispered. You never truly arrived. The air around me tightened. A low hum built from somewhere deep inside myself. My fingertips glowed faintly. I had to choose. Stay in the human world. Empty, fragile, stolen from my own life. Or return to the archive, the place that once held me, shaped me, feared me. Andrew stepped forward, reaching for my hand. Shadow Me extended hers, and the sky held its breath, waiting for my decision. I didn't know how long we stayed like that, her trembling against me, my own breath shallow and uneven, before the cold finally started to sting my skin again. The reality of what had happened pressed in from all sides, suffocating, relentless. Alara's name had appeared in the sky, and yet she was alive in my arms. It felt wrong, like holding a ghost who hadn't realized she was dead yet. We need to move, she whispered eventually, voice cracked. If the sky wants me gone, it might try again. It was a horrifying thought, but not an impossible one. The rules had changed tonight. Maybe they always had the power to take people instantly but chose sunrise out of cruelty or ceremony. And maybe sparing her had cost the sky something it wanted back. I helped her stand. She swayed but didn't fall. Her eyes, red and unfocused, drifted toward the horizon as if expecting it to swallow her whole. We should go to your place, she murmured. Mine. I can't. I didn't ask why. I didn't need to. Most likely her parents were already learning that their daughter had died, because the sky always made sure the families knew first. They were probably grieving right now, preparing for the body they expected to find by morning. And Alara couldn't face that. Come on, I said quietly. Lean on me. We began walking, slow, unsteady steps along the narrow road back toward my building. The night felt too quiet, like the air had been drained of sound. The usual hum of distant engines, barking dogs, late-night arguments drifting over fences, all gone. Empty, as if the world were holding its breath, waiting to see what we would do next. At one point Alara stopped walking and looked up at the sky with hollow eyes. What if they're watching? She whispered. I didn't know who they were. The names? The sky? Something else entirely? But I squeezed her hand. Let them watch. The words came out braver than I felt. She looked at me like she was trying to memorize my face, like every second mattered now. When we reached my building, The stairwell smelled faintly of bleach and cigarette smoke, familiar and grounding. Alara clung to the metal railing as we climbed, her breath catching with each step. I unlocked the door and guided her inside, flipping on a single lamp. Her gaze darted around my small apartment as though she had never seen furniture before. Everything looked foreign to her. Wrong. I closed the door. She flinched at the sound. Alara, I said gently, sit down. She shook her head sharply. No, no, I can't. If I stop moving, I'll start thinking. And then, her voice cracked in half, and she covered her face with her hands. I didn't try to force her. Instead, I stood close enough that she could feel I wasn't leaving but didn't touch her until she reached for me first. Finally, she whispered, "Tell me why you came to the lake tonight. You never go there." I tensed. I hadn't meant to tell her. Not tonight. Not like this. I felt something was wrong, I said carefully. She dropped her hands, staring at me. You just felt it? No, that's not exactly it. I swallowed hard. I saw you. She blinked slowly. What do you mean you saw me? In a dream, I admitted. But it wasn't like normal dreams. It felt like a warning. My throat tightened. You were standing in the lake, and the sky was burning, and your name was already written above you. She stared, stunned. I've never had a dream come true, I said. Not like that. Not about names. But tonight, something told me to go. Something, she repeated. Her eyes went distant again. Or someone. What does that mean? She started pacing, running her hands through her hair in frantic motions. You shouldn't have been able to save me. Nobody else ever has. Nobody even tried because they knew it was useless. But you, somehow you saw it coming. I hesitated. Are you saying you think I can see the future? No, she whispered. Not the future. I think, her voice dropped to a trembling breath. I think the sky made a mistake, and you were part of the correction. That chilled me far worse than the night air had. Alara, I said slowly. I didn't do anything special. I just got there in time. She shook her head violently. You don't understand. When my name appeared, I felt it, like something reaching inside me and pulling everything apart. It wasn't supposed to let go. It wasn't supposed to fail. She grabbed my hands suddenly, gripping them so tight her nails dug into my skin. What happened out there wasn't luck. Something interrupted the sky. Something cut its grip off me. And the only thing out of place tonight was you. My heart kicked hard against my ribs. Why would I have anything to do with the sky? I whispered. I don't know, she said. But I think you need to figure it out. Because whatever saved me, it didn't let go of you. I opened my mouth to respond, but the lamp flickered violently, plunging the room into total darkness for half a second. Alara screamed. I spun around, searching the shadows. When the light returned, she was backed against the far wall, shaking uncontrollably. Alara. No, she gasped. No, 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 look. She pointed toward the window. I turned, and my blood froze. There, reflected faintly in the glass, too faint to be anything but real, was light flickering across the sky outside. Not a comet, not lightning. Letters. Letters forming. Letters that glowed. I lunged to the window and ripped the curtains aside. The night sky was alive again. A new name was forming. Piece by piece, bright strokes carved themselves into the darkness. Hanging. Burning. Alara choked on a sob behind me. Please, please don't say it. I didn't want to, but the letters finished anyway. They assembled into a name I recognized instantly. A name that made my breath collapse in my lungs. A name that made everything inside me go cold and quiet and horribly clear. My name. It was my name glowing in the sky. Alara slid to her knees, whispering, No, 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 not you. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The universe had gone silent except for the sound of my own heartbeat pounding like a countdown in my ears. My name hung above the town, bright, merciless, undeniable. And somewhere deep in my bones, Something ancient and terrible whispered. Sunrise is coming. For a long time, I didn't hear anything. Not Alara's ragged breathing. Not the hum of electricity trembling through the lamp. Not even the distant wind scraping against the windows. There was only the glow outside. Only the burning letters of my own name hanging above the world like a verdict. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds. Hours. My sense of time had dissolved into something thick and dreamlike. Every passing moment stretching too thin, threatening to snap. When I finally turned away from the window, Alara was staring up at me with a look I had never seen on any human face. A kind of grief so deep it bordered on surrender. "I'm not letting you die," she whispered. The words hit me like a slap, because I remembered what she had looked like when she thought she was the one dying. The way she had walked into the lake, as if accepting it, because she had believed there was no escape, no loophole, no mercy. And now she was saying the same thing I had said to her, only with more desperation, as if she were trying to bargain with fate using her voice alone. "Alara?" I stepped toward her slowly, as though afraid I might shatter. "We don't even know what happened tonight. Or why." "It doesn't matter," she fired back. "You saved me. I'll save you." "But I didn't save you," I said, quietly. "Something else did." She flinched, like the truth was a blade. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Electric. Finally, she asked, "Do you feel it yet?" I shook my head. "Feel what?" "The pull." Her voice was barely audible. "The thing that tried to take me. The thing that almost succeeded." I didn't want to answer, but after a moment, I closed my eyes. And there, deep in the back of my mind, was something. Pressure. A weight. Presence. Like fingers pressing against the inside of my skull. Not painful. Not threatening. Just waiting. "I feel something," I admitted. Her lips parted in horror. She staggered back as if I'd hit her. "Then we don't have long." A soft ringing sound filled my ears. At first I thought it was panic, some psychological echo of terror. But then Alara stiffened. "You hear it too," she whispered. I nodded. The ringing grew louder, sharper, more distinct. It was like the sky itself was vibrating, humming with a frequency meant for me and no one else. I stumbled to the chair and collapsed into it, clutching the sides as the floor tilted. Alara dropped to her knees in front of me. "Look at me. Stay with me." Her hands framed my face, cool and trembling. I forced my eyes open. The room dimmed. The corners melted into shadow. My vision tunneled until all I could see was her. A pale face streaked with tears, eyes full of fight and terror and something like devotion. "Tell me what you're feeling," she begged. "It's like..." I swallowed hard. "Like someone whispering my name from very far away." Her breath hitched. "That's how it starts." I cursed under my breath. "How do you know?" "Because it happened to me," she said, voice cracking. "Right before the light hit me." My pulse spiked. I gripped her wrists. "Except it didn't hit you," I rasped. "And maybe it won't hit me either." "No," she whispered. "You don't understand. It didn't hit me because you interrupted it. The moment you touched me, something snapped." Her fingers tightened. "What if," she whispered, "the only reason you were able to save me is because you were meant to die instead?" The words didn't make sense at first. Then they made too much sense. She continued before I could speak. "Maybe the sky marked me first, but something got confused, or conflicted, or failed. And when you stepped in, maybe the sky corrected itself." I recoiled. "You think this is some kind of exchange?" "I don't know," she cried. "But the moment your name appeared, I felt something let go of me. Like whatever force had its hands on me shifted its grip to you." A cold wave crashed through me. The ringing grew sharper, more urgent. "Then why spare you at all?" I whispered. "Why let you live?" Her eyes filled again, overflowing. "I don't think it spared me," she said. "I think it still wants me. But you got in the way. And now it wants both." The lights flickered once more. The air thickened. And then, a faint glow seeped in from under the door. Not from the hallway lights. Not from anything human-made. Alara froze, breath catching in her throat. It's here. I stood, forcing my trembling legs to obey. We run. Where? She whispered. Where do you think we can hide from the sky? I opened my mouth to answer. But then the glow intensified, burning brighter, spilling through the cracks of the apartment like liquid fire. The ringing became a low, resonant hum. The same hum I had heard when Alara collapsed at the lake. The same hum that had reached for her soul. Alara? I whispered, grabbing her hand. We run anyway. She squeezed back, hard. We lunged toward the back door, throwing it open and stumbling into the cold night air. The sky above was boiling with light, swirling like a vast. Awakened, I focusing on us. My name blazed brighter, then dimmed, then brightened again in pulses like a heartbeat. Alara dragged me down the stairs, breathless, hair flying behind her like a shadow. But halfway down, she stopped abruptly, because another light had appeared. Not in the sky, on the ground, right in front of us. A symbol, glowing faintly, carved into the concrete, pulsing like it was alive. Alara stared. That wasn't there before. My pulse hammered. The hum grew louder, the light brighter. The symbol, some arc, some line, some ancient shape that looked older than language, began to expand outward in a circle, thin threads of light spiderwebbing across the pavement. What does it mean? I whispered. Alara shook her head slowly. Then her eyes widened in sudden, horrified understanding. It's a gateway, she breathed. The glow intensified. To what? I demanded. She swallowed, voice strangled. I think to whoever writes the names. The circle erupted in blinding white light, and the sky roared. The light surged upward, blinding and violent, swallowing the stairwell in a white so pure it felt like it would burn the world clean. I threw an arm over my face, but it made no difference. The glow hammered through my skin, my eyelids, my bones. Alara screamed. Something, my name, I think. But the sound dissolved into the roaring hum filling the air. Then the world dropped out from under us. The concrete vanished. The stairwell vanished. The night itself tore open like a sheet of paper. And we were falling. Not downward, not upward, just falling. Through nothing. Through light. Through a space too big to comprehend, too empty to breathe in. Alara's hand was still in mine, but I could barely feel her. She felt distant, like someone I was remembering rather than touching. I tried to shout her name, but no sound left my mouth. The hum drowned it out, shaking through me like a million voices all speaking at once. Then suddenly the falling stopped. We were standing. I gasped, finally able to breathe, and staggered forward onto solid ground. The surface beneath me wasn't concrete, or earth, or anything natural. It was smooth and pale, like polished stone, etched with faint patterns that shifted under the light. Alara stumbled beside me, clinging to my arm. Her eyes darted wildly around us. Where are we? She whispered. I turned slowly. We stood in a vast, open expanse. Endless, horizonless, silent. The sky above was not a sky at all, but a churning sea of light and shadow, swirling like ink inside water. Ribbons of luminescence hung in the air, drifting like torn pieces of aurora. Names shimmered faintly in those ribbons. Millions of them, billions maybe. Some glowed brightly, others flickered. A few dimmed, dissolving into nothing like smoke. I felt my stomach twist. This was where the names came from. This was where they were written. Alara, I whispered. I think this is the place that decides who dies. Even saying it felt like a violation. Alara shuddered, her breath fogging even though the air wasn't cold. Why bring us here? A new voice answered. You interfered. Came from everywhere. And nowhere. It wasn't one voice. It was dozens layered together, echoing off themselves, forming a chorus that resonated inside my skull like a struck bell. Alara clutched my arm tighter. We didn't interfere, she said through clenched teeth. He saved me. You disrupted the order. The voices boomed. And now the order must be restored. The ground vibrated under our feet. The patterns engraved in the surface began to glow, rippling outward like living veins. Something was waking up. Something ancient. I forced myself to step forward, shielding Alara with my body. If the order was wrong, I shouted into the void, then maybe it deserves to be disrupted. The air bent around me, literally bent, warping as if recoiling in disgust. No names are chosen in error. My heart pounded. Alara wasn't a mistake, I said. She's alive. That proves she wasn't supposed to die. A long, heavy silence. Then the voices lowered, dark and low. She is living on borrowed meaning. Alara stiffened. What does that mean? The ground brightened under us, and a shape rose from the surface, like a figure carved out of the same light that made the names above. It had no face, no features, just a vaguely human outline filled with shifting radiance. When it spoke, the light inside it pulsed. Life flows along a path set long before the individual breathes it. But your path, both of yours, has been altered. Alara stepped beside me, jaw clenched. Then change it back. We cannot. Can't? She snapped. Or won't. The figure tilted its head very slightly. Every deviation requires compensation. My blood ran cold. Compensation, I echoed. Meaning what? The figure turned to me. Though it had no eyes, I felt it looking. Your name has been written. I know, I muttered. And I'm still here. For now. Alara moved in front of me, as if she could physically block a cosmic decree. You're not taking him. The figure shifted, its outline distorting. The threads of your lives are entangled. When one was spared, the other was claimed. No, she said. No, that's not how this works. You don't get to just assign death like it's a payment. That is precisely how this works. The ground beneath us cracked with light. Alara jerked, gripping my hand in terror. What do you want from us? I demanded. The figure lifted an arm, pointing toward the swirling sky above. A single name glowed brightly there, mine, blazing like a wound carved in the fabric of this place. To correct the imbalance, the voices said, one life must end. I felt the words physically, like a pressure in my chest. Alara shook her head violently. Then take me, not him. Alara, no, she screamed at me. I died already. I was supposed to. He pulled me back. If anyone has to go, it should be me. The ground shook, no, trembled under her declaration. Even the figure seemed to falter, the light around it flickering uncertainly. Alara, stop. My voice cracked. I grabbed her shoulders. Don't say that. Don't you ever say that. Tears streamed down her face, shining in the strange light of this place. I can't lose you, she whispered. I won't. The figure regained its stability, glowing solid again. It is not the mortal who chooses. Then who does? I roared. You. We are not the chooser. We are the executor. Then who chooses? Alara screamed. The swirling sky stilled, then split open. A shape descended, massive, ancient, incomprehensible. Not a figure, not a god, not a being. More like a presence wearing the suggestion of form. A shadow of impossible magnitude outlined in galaxies of glowing names. The air crushed inward. My knees nearly buckled. Alara gasped, choking on the weight of it. The voices whispered, reverent and afraid. The chooser. I felt it look at me. I felt it look at her. And then the names above us began to fall, slowly, like embers drifting downward, circling us in spirals of fading light. The chooser spoke, and its voice wasn't a sound but a force. One of you does not belong. Alara's grip on me tightened until it hurt. I stared up at the impossible presence, heart hammering. Then tell us, I whispered. Tell us which one. The chooser pulsed with darkness and light. The falling names dissolved. And with a single reality-splitting whisper, it answered, the one who should not exist. Alara's breath hitched. Then the chooser said a single name. My heart stopped. The name the chooser spoke did not echo. It didn't need to. It slipped into the air like a blade, silent, cold, irreversible. Alara. For a moment, I didn't understand. For a moment, the universe was too still, too quiet, too stunned for the meaning to land. Alara went rigid beside me, every muscle seizing at once. Her fingers loosened from mine. Her breath caught in her throat like she'd been suddenly strangled. Me? She whispered. The chooser did not answer. It didn't need to. The name hung in the air, glowing faintly, shimmering with finality. My mind rebelled. No, that was impossible. Alara had died already, almost. The sky had marked her. The sky had failed. The sky had spared her. I had saved her. She was alive, here beside me. Warm. Real. The chooser spoke again. Not a word, but an idea so heavy it slammed into my skull. You saved what was already gone. Alara flinched like she'd been struck. That's not true, she choked. I'm here.
I'm alive.
I feel. Her voice broke. She pressed a shaking hand against her chest. I feel alive. The chooser's shadow expanded, darkening the swirling sky of names above us. Life without thread. Breath without line. Meaning without birthright. Alara staggered back. Stop. Stop saying that. My heart was hammering so hard my ribs hurt. I forced myself to step in front of her, raising my voice even though it trembled violently. You're saying she shouldn't exist? The chooser pulsed. She did, until the moment you touched her. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. What does that mean? I whispered. What happened when I touched her? The executor, the faceless glowing figure, spoke instead, voice layered and cracking like splitting stone. When her name appeared, her threads severed. Her existence began unwinding. She was leaving the world, becoming unmade. Alara squeezed her eyes shut, face twisting in pain. You interfered, the executor continued. You gave her new meaning, meaning that did not belong to her. Meaning that belonged to you. I felt Alara's fingers clutch at the back of my shirt, trembling. My meaning? I echoed. How? Why? The chooser's presence loomed, growing heavier. You carried what she lost, and she took what was yours. A chill cut through me so sharply I nearly collapsed. Alara's voice cracked into a whisper. He's saying, I'm alive because of you. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, literally. I shook my head hard, refusing to accept it. That doesn't make any sense. You are a point of shifting, an anomaly of breath. Correction. The chooser's voice thundered inside me until my vision blurred. Alara grabbed my face with both hands, pulling me down so our foreheads touched. Listen to me, she whispered, desperate. I don't care what it says. I don't care what I'm supposed to be. You saved me. You didn't steal anything from me. But I could feel it now, deep inside. Something tugging at me. Something missing. Something hollow at the center of my being. Like a piece of myself had cracked off and drifted somewhere it didn't belong. She saw the realization in my eyes. No, she breathed. No, don't do this. Don't you dare think I took your life. I said slowly, painfully. I gave it to you. The chooser spoke. One must return what was given. The executor stepped forward, light flaring around its shape. The balance must be restored, it said. Your name remains written. Hers must fade. Alara let out a broken sob, burying her face in my chest as if she could hide from the universe. You can't take her, I shouted. If someone has to go, take me. My name is written, not hers. The chooser's presence cut like a blade through the air. There is no hers. I froze. Alara's shoulders tightened under my hands. She pulled back slowly, eyes wide and glistening. What does that mean? She whispered. The swirling sky dimmed. The names flickered. The chooser lowered itself like a collapsing star. What stands beside you is not the original thread. It is what remains of you shaped into her. The world went silent. Alara stared at me, horror cresting across her face like a slow, rising tide. I'm what? She choked. I'm not me. I felt my lungs seize. The executor's voice softened. Not kindly, but with something like grim duty. When you touched her at the lake, you gave her your thread, the life and meaning meant for you. Her original thread had already ended. Alara staggered back, clutching her hair, shaking violently. No, no, I had a family, I had memories, I had echoes, the executor said. Impressions shaped from the fragment of your meaning that sustained her form. I felt sick. The chooser's final whisper filled the entire expanse. There is only one true being between you. The other is an unmade reflection using a life not its own. Couldn't breathe. Alara's voice broke into a strangled sob. Tell me which one of us is real. The chooser's light dimmed until there was only the faint outline of a cosmic silhouette. And then, in a whisper colder than death, the one whose name still burns. My legs gave out. Alara screamed, because above us, in the swirling sky of names, only one name glowed. Mine. Hers was gone, erased, like it had never existed. Alara stared up at the sky, at the place where her name should have been, where it had burned only hours ago, now empty. The void where her existence had been written was more horrifying than any glowing sigil. It was absence, erasure, silence. No, she whispered, stumbling backward as if the sky itself had struck her. No, 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 why isn't it there? Why isn't my name there? I reached for her, but she flinched away like my touch burned. I don't exist? Her voice cracked. That's what you're saying? That everything I am, everything I remember, is just pieces of you? The chooser's silhouette pulsed once, a slow, mournful shimmer. The thread of Alara ended when the sky claimed her. What stands here now is a life borrowed from another. Alara covered her ears, shaking her head violently. Stop it! Stop! Stop! Her scream tore through the emptiness, echoing into the swirling lights above until they trembled. I stepped closer, voice barely steady. Alara, listen to me. No! Tears streamed down her cheeks, dripping onto the glowing ground. Don't call me that. Don't. Don't pretend I'm her. You're still you, I whispered desperately. You feel real. You are real. She stared at me, eyes wild, terrified, pleading. But I'm not, am I? I'm just something wearing her shape. That's not true. But even as I said it, something inside me ached, because the moment the chooser spoke, something in me had understood. A terrible understanding that felt like remembering something I'd been trying not to know. The executor lifted a hand, light dripping from its fingers like molten gold. The imbalance must be corrected, it intoned. One thread cannot sustain two forms. Alara backed away until she hit some invisible barrier in the air. She cried out, palms pressing against the unseen wall. Please, she whispered. Please don't let them take me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die again. Every part of me shattered hearing that. I turned on the chooser, rage exploding in my chest. Then take me, I screamed. My name is written. My life is already marked. Take me and let her go. The chooser's form brightened until the air seared my eyes. There is no her without you. The executor's voice followed. If you die, the borrowed thread collapses. She collapses. Alara froze. Slowly, her trembling hands lowered from the barrier. What does that mean? She whispered. It means, the executor said, that you end with him. A soft, broken sound escaped her throat. I felt the crushing truth settle over both of us. Saving her had tied her existence to mine. She had become something living on the scaffolding of my thread, taking form only because I had given her life that was not meant for her. If I died, the gift ended. If she died, the stolen meaning returned to me, and I would live. Only one of us could exist fully, and the sky had already chosen which one. Alara, I whispered, stepping toward her. Look at me. Her eyes met mine, full of desperation, love, guilt, terror. A storm of all the emotions a soul was never meant to feel at once. I'm sorry, she breathed. I didn't know. I didn't mean to take anything from you. You didn't, I said. I gave it. The chooser's light pulsed violently, cracks appearing in the ground beneath us. The correction begins. Choose. Alara's breath hitched. Choose? She echoed. We have to choose? The executor nodded once. If you choose for him to die, we take him now. You will fade when the borrowed meaning dissolves. And if I choose myself? She whispered, voice barely there. Your form returns the stolen thread to him, the executor said. And he lives. Her knees buckled. She pressed a trembling hand to her chest. I don't want to die, she whispered. I know, I said, voice breaking, but I don't want you to die either. A long, horrible silence stretched between us. Then she stepped toward me, slowly, one foot after another, until she stood inches away. Her hands rose to my face, soft and cold, trembling like autumn leaves. I shouldn't exist, she whispered, but I do, and I'm selfish enough to want to keep existing, even if it means taking what isn't mine. Her forehead rested against mine. Tell me to live, she begged. Make me selfish. Tell me to choose myself. I wrapped my hands around hers, feeling her shaking. Alara. Her tears soaked my skin. Tell me to stay, she whispered. Please, please, tell me I'm real enough to stay. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I also saw the terror in her eyes. The terror of ending not once but twice. The terror of discovering her entire existence balanced on a thread that didn't belong to her. Alara, my voice cracked. If you choose yourself, I die. Her breath hitched. The chooser's shadow darkened above us like a storm. Choose. The thread cannot hold. Alara sobbed, hands sliding down my chest as if she were clinging to life itself. Then she looked up at me, eyes trembling, lips parted. I want to live, she whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She turned toward the chooser. I choose, she choked. Her entire body convulsed. The ground beneath her burst with light. Alara! I screamed, reaching for her. But she had already begun to glow. Not bright, not like the chooser, but fragile, flickering, like a candle caught in a hurricane. She looked at me through a haze of light, face crumbling. I choose, her voice hitched. She reached for me blindly. Her fingers passed through my hands, as if she was already fading. No, I breathed. No, Alara, she sobbed, shaking violently. I choose. The chooser leaned forward, a towering eclipse of starlit shadow. Speak. The balance breaks either way. Alara screamed, and then, through sobs and terror and collapsing light, she made her choice. I didn't know how long I slept. Maybe a few minutes, maybe hours. Dreams clawed at me, names falling like burning snow. Rowan's face turning to ash, Mira whispering, "You can still stop it." When I opened my eyes, Rowan was sitting a few feet away, legs pulled to his chest, staring at the ground. He looked like someone who'd climbed out of his own grave. "You were twitching," he said without looking at me. "Bad dream. Aren't we all in one?" He huffed something like a laugh but without humor. "Yeah." The darkness outside the doorway had softened, some hint of dawn pressing up behind the trees. A faint glow seeped across the floor like spilled milk. "How's the sky?" I asked quietly. He didn't look up. Names stopped falling. "That's good, right?" He finally turned to me. His eyes were rimmed red but steady. "It only means the night's over." The words trembled in the air between us. Dawn meant a new cycle was about to begin. A new night, a new set of names, a new death. Mira shifted weakly, tugging our attention. She blinked like waking underwater. "You two look like ghosts," she murmured. "We've had a night," Rowan said. She tried to sit up. I helped her, and she flinched but didn't complain. "We need to leave before the next sunset." "Where?" I said. "Home is gone. The city's something else now. And Laurent. He's never going to stop," she said softly. "But he's not the only one who knows how to use the sky." I froze. Rowan straightened. "Mira?" I said slowly. "What do you mean?" She swallowed, gathering strength. choosing words like they were shards of glass. My mother. She wasn't just a finder. She wasn't just running from the world. She was part of something. A group. People who studied the sky before the government did. People who believed it wasn't a curse, but a pattern. A system. Something that could be undone. Rowan and I exchanged a long, stunned look. "And you didn't bring this up yesterday?" Rowan said incredulously. Myra's expression tightened. "Yesterday I thought we were going to die. Fair. Do you know how to undo it?" I asked. She hesitated. "Not exactly, but I know where to go. There's a place. A settlement north of the ridge. Hidden. They call themselves the Unnamed." A chill ran through me. "The Unnamed," Rowan repeated. "What? They don't have names?" "They don't use names," she corrected. "They abandoned them decades ago, to escape the sky. The idea was, if you can't be named, you can't be taken." "That's—" Rowan rubbed his jaw. "That's insane." "Is it?" Mira asked. "Look at what we've been living with." I thought of Sarah, Elvin, everyone on our street. Whole families gutted by the sky's cold glow. Insane was relative. "And they know how to stop it," I said. "They know more than anyone. My mother was heading there before she died." Her voice wavered on that last word. Rowan looked away. I swallowed hard. "Okay," I said. "So we go." Rowan lifted a brow. "Just like that. You have a better plan?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Outside, light had begun to seep through the trees, thin, ghostly threads of morning stretching across the ground. Daylight meant safety, temporary safety, a countdown to the next night already ticking. "We have maybe 12 hours, Mira whispered. Rowan stood and offered her a hand. "Then let's not waste a second." We stepped out of the ruin together. The morning tasted like damp leaves and smoke. Birds didn't sing. Maybe they'd forgotten how. Maybe they were listening too. Rowan shielded his eyes and scanned the sky. No glow. No names. Just the empty pale blue of a world pretending it wasn't dying. We walked through a silent forest that felt like it was holding its breath. Across a shallow stream that reflected us like ghosts. Past the bones of an old house swallowed by moss. Every step was a reminder. Sunset was hunting us. At one point, Rowan slowed beside me. "Do you really think these unnamed people can fix the sky?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But they're the only ones left who might understand it." He nudged my shoulder lightly. "For what it's worth, thanks for not leaving me. You saved my life last night." "Yeah, well," he kicked a pebble. "You saved mine more than once." We walked in silence after that, but it wasn't heavy. It was human. By midday, Myra's pace had slowed. Sweat clung to her forehead, but she refused to rest. "We're close," she kept saying. "We have to be close." The sun had begun its long descent when the forest finally thinned, and we reached a ridge that fell away into a wide valley. Rowan let out a breath. Below us, nestled in a clearing, was a cluster of old stone buildings ringed by tall wooden walls. Smoke curled from a few chimneys. Figures moved between structures, dressed in simple, uniform clothing. It looked like a commune, a secret village. "The Unnamed," Mira whispered, but something was wrong. The gate was open, and the people inside were running, screaming. Panicked shapes bolted through the square, knocking over tables and scattering tools. A distant alarm bell clanged frantically. Smoke poured from the largest building as flames flickered inside. A cold, spiraling dread twisted down my spine. "What the hell happened?" Rowan breathed. Before I could answer, a figure collapsed outside the gate, on hands and knees, dragging themselves through the dirt. We rushed forward. When we reached them, they lifted their head. Their face was streaked with ash and tears. Their voice trembled with horror. "Run!" they gasped. "He found us." Rowan froze. Mira went pale. The world tilted under my feet. "He!" I whispered. The survivor nodded, eyes full of terror. "Laurent," they said, and somewhere in the burning village behind them, a single figure stepped through the flames. The figure was impossibly tall. Not human, not fully, though it wore the shape of one. The light of the burning buildings glinted off its skin, or maybe it wasn't skin at all, but a strange, reflective surface that seemed to shift and ripple like liquid metal. Its head was tilted slightly, as if examining us, and I could feel its gaze, cold, patient, infinite, pressing into my chest. Laurent. The name tasted like ash in my mouth. Rowan stepped in front of me. Back, he said sharply, voice trembling but firm. Stay back. The figure moved, slow and deliberate, and the world seemed to bend with each step. The ground beneath its feet cracked, though it didn't seem to notice. Do you think that thing is human? Mira whispered. I don't think it's anything human, I said. Laurent, or whatever it was, stopped a few yards from us. Flames reflected in its impossible eyes, flickering red and gold. Then, without moving its lips, a voice came. Not from its mouth, but from everywhere, inside and outside of me, vibrating in my chest. You have survived longer than expected. I swallowed hard. We didn't survive, my words caught. We stopped you once already. The figure's head tilted again, and the hum of its presence intensified. You delayed the inevitable, but delay is temporary. Names fall. Names always fall. Alara, no, the one who had survived on my thread, stepped forward despite herself. Her voice was small, but steady. We are not just names. We are alive. The figure paused, tilting its head as though considering her words. Then the space around us seemed to twist, and the burning village below flared brighter. Life borrowed is life temporary. Threads stolen must be returned. I felt my stomach drop. Everything in me screamed that the chooser had always been right, that what survived last night was a mistake, a life unearned, a thread not its own. I'll return it, I shouted, heart hammering. Take me, take me. Instead, the figure didn't move. It didn't respond, only watched. Choice cannot be yours. You delayed, and now the correction comes. I felt a heat rising inside me. Fear? Yes, but also something sharper. Anger. Every life erased, every name falling, every scream of those we had seen die flashed before my eyes. I clenched my fists. No! I roared. Not this time. You're not taking her. Not again. I won't let it happen. The figure's presence pulsed like a drumbeat, low and inevitable. The ground shook. Flames licked higher. Shadows stretched and coiled like living things. And then, just as suddenly, it stepped aside. A path opened through the chaos, a corridor of light leading into the heart of the burning village. The figure's voice came once more, softer now, almost reluctant. Go. But know this, the thread will always call. The sky does not forget. It will come for you again. I stared, chest heaving, at the space where we could move. Mira grabbed my hand, Rowan pulled her other, and I wrapped my arm around the survivor thread, the one who had once been Alara, holding her close as we ran toward the village. The fire crackled around us. Names still fell from the sky, tiny sparks disappearing before they hit the ground. But for the first time, I felt something else as well, control. Not over the sky, but over our own motion, our own choice, our own lives. We ran together, step by step, into the ruins of the village and toward a future we would carve ourselves. Above us, the sky simmered, dark and full of waiting. But for now, it did not fall. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself breathe. I let her breathe. We survived. And for tonight, that was enough. We emerged from the ruined village just as the last rays of the sun vanished behind the distant hills. The sky darkened, turning a deep, bruised purple, and for a moment, every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to prepare for the inevitable. But we didn't run. We walked, step by step, through the ash and smoke, through the wreckage of lives, through the silence of a world that had almost forgotten how to breathe. Mira led the way toward the settlement she had mentioned, the unnamed. Their village, hidden beyond the ridge, offered sanctuary. Not safety, not freedom, but a place where we could exist, for now, unmarked by the sky's relentless judgment. the survivor beside me, Alara's echo, the life she had borrowed from me, walked silently, every movement tentative. I didn't speak to her. Words felt useless. Actions were the only thing left. Holding her, keeping her close, letting her feel she belonged. Rowan kept pace, scanning the shadows as though the world could still collapse behind us. I glanced at him and saw the same exhaustion I felt mirrored in his eyes. Every step forward was heavy, haunted. Every breath carried the weight of everyone we had failed to save, of everyone whose name had fallen in the sky. By nightfall, the ridge stretched out before us, and beyond it, faint lights twinkled in the distance. Not stars, not names, civilization or what remained of it. We paused, catching our breath, and I looked at the sky. No names fell, for now, but I knew better than to trust it. The sky was patient, endless, eternal, waiting for the moment when it could reclaim what had slipped through its grasp. Mira broke the silence first. "We're close," she whispered. "The unnamed. They'll know what to do." I nodded, but my thoughts lingered on the sky, on the names, on the thread that had kept Alara alive. I thought of every life touched, borrowed or stolen. And I thought of the chooser, of Loran, of the executor, beings beyond comprehension, yet tethered to our mortal fear. Rowan's voice pulled me back. "We made it this far," he said softly. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." I glanced at the survivor beside me. She was fragile, trembling, yet alive. She looked up at me with a fragile kind of hope. I wanted to tell her it would be enough, that we could survive anything. But deep inside, I knew the truth. The sky never forgets. The threads never fully untangle. The names will always fall. Still, I took a deep breath, feeling her hand in mine, and for a moment the world felt real, tangible. Our steps echoed against the ridge as we moved forward, into a future we could carve. Shaky, uncertain, but ours. Above us, the sky darkened further, silent now, but watchful. Waiting, always waiting. And I understood, finally, that survival was not about escaping the names. Survival was about walking forward despite them, about carrying the weight of what was lost, protecting what remained, and daring to live while the sky waited. We walked into the night. Shadows clung to our heels. The air was heavy, thick with possibility and threat. Every heartbeat echoed in the stillness, and every name that had fallen, or might yet fall, was a reminder of the fragile thread that tethered us to existence. But for now, we were alive, and that was enough. The night swallowed us. The stars blinked cold and distant, and the sky of falling names waited, patient and eternal, knowing that one day it would call again.